Think you know which way it's going to go? You should head on over to Sports Interaction. When the puck drops, Sports Interaction has you covered.
Live and play.
Live and play.
But pregame.
Pregame, live and play are one of their many prop bets. I wasn't ready.
On all major sports and prop bets. Want to bet? SportsInteraction.com/STPN. 19 plus, please play responsibly. I'm keeping them on their toes.
The Stanley Cup
Jay.
matters. Like
It does
it
matter.
matters a lot
Yes.
to his legacy, but like I think since he's gotten that and
He's got it.
he's going to be the all-time leading goal scorer. It's there's no reason for that take, Stephen.
No, I'm just saying. Well, we had the conversation about him versus Crosby, right? And he's doing this thing. By the end of his career, let's say he ends on 900 goals exactly.
901.
901. He ends on 901. He's the greatest goal scorer of all time. The Stanley Cups apiece end the way they currently are. Crosby has 3. Ovechkin has 1. But he's the greatest goal scorer of all time. How do we say the guy who's not the greatest goal scorer of all time had the better career?
I think it's more of a debate than people think it is.
Yeah, man. And I pump Crosby's tires all the friggin' time. I think the world of him. I think he might have been always underrated. Seriously. He had the sun and the moon of expectations, surpassed all of them. He's won 3 cups, been to the Stanley Cup final 4 times, multiple scoring titles, MVPs, Rocket. You probably should have won more. Would have won more if his career wasn't completely derailed. Like, people talk about Crosby and Ovechkin and look how close they are in scoring in terms of points.
One's played more.
Well, if Crosby hadn't missed a year and a half with a devastating injury that almost ended his career, I am willing to bet he'd be up there. But if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, something about Christmas. So it's obviously not done. But if at the end of it, I'm willing to say Sidney Crosby is the better player over his entire career. But if at the end of this, Ovechkin is the greatest goal scorer of all time, I don't know how you continue to say that. He's the greatest goal scorer of all time.
Now that is a take.
There you go.
Sure. I would say that
like
goal
that?
scoring is one aspect of the game. He's the greatest ever at it.
Yeah.
But there are other
What's Sidney
facets
Crosby
of
the greatest ever at?
Being Sidney Crosby.
No. But what is he? What aspect of the game?
He might be the greatest team leader that we've ever had.
Oh,
In
Considering-
the NHL ever?
Considering his Team Canada success, I'm putting the golden goal into that. The gold medals and the fact that the 3 Stanley Cups and him leading those teams to that, like, I don't know, he might be the greatest team leader of all time.
And by the way, I'm not trying to say that he's not. I was just merely asking the question
No,
before people in
totally.
the comment section. I want to say this. You know what I give Crosby? And this is so unsexy. I give Crosby the best player in a small space that's ever played.
Yes.
Nobody in the corners, nobody behind the net, nobody in front of the net can do what he can do with 1 square foot. Nobody. Or at least at his best, nobody could. I think, and the reason that the NHL has gone the way that it's gone is a bunch of kids grew up watching this guy and they're playing in it now. Like, the way we used to watch hockey growing up was it's a far more linear game, right? It was headman the puck, dump the puck, chase the puck, get in the thing. Crosby came in and he sort of changed a lot of that. Like, if you watch the way the Oilers of the 80s played, and they were the best team in the league, they were a far more, they did a lot of big, long passes and that sort of thing, but you never saw them sort of pinned in the corner, where Crosby, he is constantly pinned, and is able to get the puck out. When there's a battle, he's getting it. And I think that that's been the thing that's made him the best. And that low center of gravity and the shiftiness and what do they call that? Edge work?
He has better edges than anybody.
Who's got better edges?
Best edges in the last 20 years.
And that's hard to explain to a newer fan. But I think he's been the best at that. And he revolutionized the game because of that.
There's some great YouTube videos on Sidney Crosby's edge work isolated.
Yeah.
I bet Steve watches them in the summer when he's on vacation.
I do.
Yeah.
I
we all should.
Yeah.
Like, they're fucking fantastic
when he should be
videos.
spending time with Leo.
Nah, he takes naps still. What I was going to say, what I was looking up on my phone. First of all, I know people call Crosby an elite grinder. which that's exactly what he is.
Yeah.
And the type of player you described, you described him perfectly. I was trying to think of a comparable, and the first guy that came to mind was Peter Forsberg. And what I tried to look up with him, I was going to say, well, Forsberg was so much bigger. He wasn't actually. He was like, I don't know, an inch and 5 pounds.
Oh,
Bigger. That's
played
it.
bigger.
He sure did. Maybe it was those 90s pads
Oh yeah.
that he was wearing. I don't know. But
I love Crosby's arc as well, because we came in those first like 4 or 5 years. It was crybaby Crosby. You remember that? And then now it's the complete opposite, where he's the guy
Stone
dishing
cold.
out the punishment. Yeah. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
his story definitely has a, I don't know about more interesting, but definitely more complicated beginning, middle, and end. And then there's Alexander Ovechkin, who just sort of showed up and scored 50 fucking goals every year.
Completely linear. Day
Every
one.
year. Like one of the most consistent athletes of all time in any sports. That's wild. Wild. And I know, a soccer fan might not give a shit, or a basketball fan might not give a shit, but
Well, it's a good thing we're doing a hockey podcast, right?
it's a good thing. It's a good thing. No, dude, 800 goals?
It's a lot.
It's
a lot.
I think when he scored there was a stat recently. It's like, oh, he's at 791. And I was like, what? He's going to hit 800 this month? Like, I don't know. It just like snuck up on me.
Mm-hmm.
And now every goal he scores is noteworthy. Every goal he scores on a highlight show or whatever, you need to put a little ticker of how far back he is of Gretzky. He's going to tie Gordie Howe at the next one. He's going to pass him with the one after that. He's got greatest Russian goal scorer locked up forever. Ever. And once he passes Howe, he'll need, I think it's 92 to tie Gretzky. Ovechkin could rattle that off in 2 seasons. And this one's not even half done. This is a mutant. This is a monster. He might, I talked about him adding on an extra year to his career. He might pass Gretzky before his contract's up.
Well, how much he got left? 3?
I think it's 3.
Yeah, I think he probably will.
Oh, yeah.
Goofy.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
At a later date, there's a different
Yeah.
discussion for what the Capitals should do with their team. But around a guy who's
You just go.
who's scoring this well, like you can't rebuild.
Keep going.
So you just gotta kind of float, just kind of see what you can do and keep going. But well, that's a different conversation for a different day.
No, some players are special enough that they ride out into the sunset on your team. You know what I think is going to be especially amazing is if at the end of their careers, Crosby retires as a Penguin and Ovechkin retires also as a Penguin. No, I'm kidding. As a Capital. They both stayed there in one of the most tumultuous times in NHL history where where players are going here, there, and everywhere. Even though the NHL is making it as hard as possible for players to change teams. If both these guys play their near 20-year careers and stay with the same team the whole time, that's incredible.
I think, too, CJ has always said that longevity is a skill.
Yep.
And I agree. No, the older I got, the more I agree with him. It's very, very hard to continue at anything at a high level for a long period of time, especially something as physical as hockey is. And the fact that these guys, Crosby more than Ovechkin, I think, have come back from hardcore injuries and continue to perform at that level. And, adjust your games because, I remember when Ovi came into the league, that guy could absolutely crush people. He would just slam and the boards would rattle. Like, you never see hits like that anymore. They were like Dion Phaneuf, prime Dion Phaneuf Calgary level hits.
I remember when he was a rookie, we all said he'd have a 10-year career.
Right, because people were like, you can't do that forever. And he adjusted his game, and he doesn't do that anymore. Crosby has adjusted many, many facets of his game to suit the fact that he is
Wait,
older
did you say
now.
Ovechkin doesn't do that anymore?
But he's not doing it like the way he was.
Not the way he was. He still usually leads his team in hits.
Sure, but he used to dive bomb guys. It's not like it was.
He would throw 300 to 400 hits a year.
Tom Wilson says hello.
Yeah.
I lead the team in hits, but Ovi can be second.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really, really is. So congratulations to him. It's just going to be one of the most fun storylines to watch over the next 2-3 years about that crawl towards Gretzky.
And I have Crosby, just for the record, I have Crosby over Ovi.
I do too.
In my
for
all-time
now.
greats rankings, Crosby over Ovi.
It's getting harder.
It is.
If there's a gap, it's closing.
Yeah, but Crosby's still over.
Meanwhile, he's still one of the best at his position in the entire sport.
And they play different positions.
Yeah.
And
you gotta
Crosby plays a harder position.
Yes, 100%.
Ovechkin's position
Crosby's
is
also
everyone's known what I'm going to do for over 15 years and they still can't stop it.
Yeah, I've always said what matters more to me is what's more important in the sport of hockey. We put way too much emphasis on assists because it's very Canadian. Like, well, you helped out, good for you. Actually, goals are the most important thing, like in every sport. And we still don't put enough emphasis on goals, which is why for me that gap is closed considerably. Because I know he doesn't play center, but 800 goals, man.
The most important part of the game, he is the best ever at it.